Hi, I'm Shoestring Jay and welcome back to my channel where I talk about all things thrifty, frugal, money saving and sometimes just a general waffle, which is what you're going to get today. I was feeling a bit kind of philosophical really because this week I turned the big 6-0. I can't actually believe that I am 60. I really do feel like, people say this and it sounds like a cliche. And it is a cliche, but there's always a truth behind the cliche, isn't there? And that, 1 minute you're 18 and you blink and it seems to go in a flash. And suddenly you are 60, 70, 80, if you're lucky. And you just don't know where the years went, really. It just goes so fast, which does make you really kind of appreciate that you're still here, really. It makes you appreciate each day, I think, as well, And you say to younger people, enjoy. People said it to me when the kids were small, enjoy them while they're small because it doesn't last long. And, it's all true. It's all true. It doesn't last long. We get our little bit of time on this planet and it's up to us to try and make the best of that time, isn't it? So anyway, I thought I'd do a kind of reflections on being 60, starting my 7th decade, which sounds horribly scary. So I've not had a frugal 60th birthday in the slightest. It's not been frugal at all. But you're only 60 once, and I have budgeted for that, and we've done a few things. It's been generally quite low key. I haven't gone for a huge party. A lot of people didn't know I was 60 until my daughter plastered it all over Facebook. But I think I wanted to kind of do a few nice special things that meant something to me. So I met up with my immediate family last Sunday. My older sister's birthday is the day after mine, so we always have a kind of family get together about then anyway. And we had a little family party and they made a fuss of me and I had balloons and a really fantastic cake. I'll insert a picture of the cake here, which was made by my daughter's friend Beth, and she's made a previous cake. I think she made Becky a 30th birthday cake as well. Amazing. She's so good. I'll insert that here. And as well as the family party, we went out on my actual birthday, which was yesterday, for just me, Justin, and the girls. They all came from their various homes. And just went to a really lovely old restaurant here that we'd never ever been to. I mean, I've lived here for 60 years, no, I haven't, 30 years now. And I've never been to this particular restaurant. And it's a medieval siege house. It's called the Siege House. It was kind of taken over by the royalists when they were fighting the parliamentarians in the 16 whatevers, whenever it was. A hazy bit of medieval history from me, but you can see the bullets from the fighting in the walls, and it's a beautiful old timbered building, absolutely gorgeous Tudor building. And I'd never been, and the food was delicious. It wasn't the cheapest, but it was really good quality. The service was fantastic. And it was a really lovely meal, so it was well worth the expense. And then me and Justin are going off to Greece next week, so you may have got a video from me next week, unless I can get very organised ahead of time, which is it's possible. It's possible, it might happen. So we're going off to Greece, so we're having our first holiday abroad for about 5 years. And just because I don't like flying, really. I'm not a fan of flying anyway, and I feel guilty for my carbon footprint. So generally speaking, we don't fly, but we're going to this time because we want to go back to Greece. And again, I'm only going to be 60 once, so I just would like to mark it in that way. I haven't got my tripod with me. I'm at Justin's mum, so I'm wobbling about a bit, just holding my camera up. So I'm sorry about that. Let me show you little Archie. He's in his little special jumper. Hey, Archie. You say hi? No, he's not going to say hi. He's having to wear a jumper because he's got this little growth that's come up on his chest, and he just won't leave it alone. It is fine. There's nothing serious. The vet's checked it out and said it's okay, but he has just really irritated by it and he won't leave it alone. So I was just going back to being 60 and just thoughts on turning 60. So I had a few, so I thought I would share them. They're not really to do with being frugal or money saving mostly, but they're just kind of things that I have been thinking about really with age. One thing I think that you get with age is you find that, it's generally easier to keep things in perspective and not to panic when things are difficult, because you've overcome difficulties in the past, so you're much more confident that you can do that again. So I do think that's a bonus of getting older, that you just don't panic. You keep things in perspective, and you're generally, well, I'm generally calmer. I'm not in every way, but in some ways I'm generally a bit calmer. I think that is a bonus, and I have much more confidence now than I did when I was younger. I was extremely shy when I was younger and not confident at all, and it was actually kind of quite disabling in many ways, being lacking confidence that much. Really, it stopped me doing things. So I do find that that's another benefit of getting older, that you get more confidence. You're willing to give things a go. You're not so self-conscious, and you're willing to fall flat on your face. It won't be the end of the world. So I think those are good things as well. But there are definitely things that I know now, because you do, as you get older, you just learn things, don't you, that I wish I had known when I was 20. And that's another cliche, isn't it? That things you could wish you could go back and tell your 20-year-old self. Not that they would have listened. I wouldn't have listened to some 6-year-old future ghost coming to tell me things. But, well, I might have, mightn't I? I don't know. And there's lots of things, particularly around money, that I would have liked to have told my younger self. And that would have been around just saving for the future. You don't think when you're in your 20s, it seems so long away. You just think, heading towards being pension age is so far away. It's not worth worrying about. Got all the time in the world to think about that. But even just thinking about buying a house and that kind of thing. I know youngsters have to think so much harder about it now. It was so much easier when I was younger. You could just go and get a house. Anyone could get 100% mortgage. Houses were much cheaper. It was all just much better. But I didn't really make the best of that. So I think, I would have invested more. I would have potentially bought more than one property, I think, and maybe rented one out. Certainly would have invested in other things. I would have saved more. I would have saved for the future. I would have had a plan. But that's with the benefit of hindsight. And, when you're young, you don't have that. So I think my daughters are kind of benefiting from that, because I'm always going on about things now, and we're saying, I wish I'd done this and I could have done things differently and things were easier for me. And, you need to save for the future, and just don't spend everything you get, because I think of the money I wasted, and I wasted a lot. And I'm not saying that, you should, when you're younger, you shouldn't have nights out and holidays and clothes and go for takeouts and things like that. Not at all, because life is for living and you should have those things. But you don't need those things all of the time. And sometimes you could just say, I'm not going to actually have a takeaway 3 times in a week because I'm too lazy to cook, because 1 time a week would be enough, and I could do something with that money. So, I dream of doing that now. Takeaways are very, very rare now, because my incentive is, or has been for the last 5 or so years, that I don't want to have to get a job and go back to work. So I have an incentive to be frugal and to manage my money better. Then I didn't really have an incentive, because I just thought, it's fine. I was aware I didn't have a lot of money all the time, but I wasn't aware how to manage my money. I didn't know anything about money. And I wasted a ton of money over the years. I can look back and think, I could have done so many more things. But, like I say, no one was telling me those things. And if they had, would I have listened? I really don't know if I would or not. Let's say, though, you get a certain confidence as you get older. And I would have definitely liked to have had that earlier in life. In my case, as I say, I was very, very shy, very lacking in confidence. There were things I would have liked to have done that I just wouldn't even do, because it just seemed like something somebody else did, like writing a book. And I finally wrote and published my book, finished writing it last year. I've got it linked below if you're interested. It's a money-saving book. I've wanted to write a book all my life, so it's a real kind of culmination of wanting to do that all of my life. So I'm very glad I finally plucked up the confidence to do it and stopped procrastinating and putting obstacles in my own way. I would have liked to have done that earlier, really. But, you're scared of failing and you want everything to be perfect, so you don't start. Well, that's the case with me. That's always been the case with me. I thought, if I can't do it perfect first time, I won't do it at all. And nobody does anything perfectly first time. You've got to allow yourself to kind of fall flat on your bum, haven't you? And get up, and you've got to allow yourself to fail sometimes. And I was always very scared of failure. And now, as I've got older, I'm not really so scared of failure. I think, okay, if I fail, then I'll do something else or go in a different direction. So I've done things, since I've been 40 upwards, mainly in my 50s and now into my 60s, that I would not have done when I was younger. And some of them I couldn't have done when I was younger because there wasn't the technology, like writing a blog. So I started my blog probably a good 15 years ago now, shoestringcottage.com. I couldn't have done that when I was younger. I mean, the internet just didn't exist. I couldn't have started a YouTube channel when I was younger because YouTube didn't exist. But there were things I could have done. I remember for work having to once do a radio interview, and honestly, I could not have been more terrified. And I did a little bit of preparation, but I was absolutely terrified. Luckily, it wasn't live because I did totally clam up in the middle of it and they had to edit out my big pauses. But I've done lots of radio since I published my book. I sent a couple of press releases out, and the BBC obviously very regularly ring me up and ask me if I'd like to go and speak on various topics or various aspects of saving money. And sometimes I do, I don't always do it, but I can do it. I know I can do it now. And I was so terrified. I remember that was about probably 25 years ago. I've never been so frightened in my life. And then having to listen to myself back on the radio and just cringing and thinking, is that my voice? Who'd have thought I would have started a YouTube channel and happily gone on the radio. So, but I also did things when I was younger that I look back on now and think, oh my goodness, where did I get the confidence to do that? As somebody who was lacking in confidence, I always wanted to travel. I really wanted to see the world when I was younger, and I pushed myself to do that. I remember going hitchhiking around Europe with my then boyfriend. God, my mother and father must have been absolutely... I wouldn't let my kids do it, let's face it. I would not let my children go hitchhiking. And I had some dodgy moments, I have to say. I had some dodgy moments hitchhiking. We went through France, went through Spain, and back again. And I hitchhiked in Holland as well, in Amsterdam, around Amsterdam. I just can't believe that I did that. I mean, there may be different times, but, there's always dodgy characters about whatever time you did it. I went and I spent 7 months on a kibbutz in Israel. It's something else I'd always wanted to do. I remember reading a book with somebody who went to live on a kibbutz, a Jewish person who went to live on a kibbutz, and I thought, that sounds great. I would really like to do that. And I was kind of interested in Israel and it being the Holy Land. I mean, I'm not religious at all. I'm not Jewish, but I just always found it a fascinating part of the world, and I wanted to go and visit it. And I spent 7 months as on a kibbutz. So I look back at that and think that was a great experience, but I'm amazed that I got there. I can't really believe I did it. And the first thing I did when I was about 18 was I went to live in Belgium, near Brussels, and I was an au pair for 6 months as well. And even that, although I was living with a family, I did it entirely by myself and travelled there by myself. And I was pretty much on my own, and I went and travelled into Brussels on my weekends off and met other au pairs, met a gang of kind of Greek people, including a boyfriend that I had briefly while I was there, a Greek boyfriend. And, I look back and think, oh my goodness, I am surprised at the things that I did when I consider the things I really struggled to do. Like, pushing myself. I was in magazine publishing when I was younger, and I loved it. I loved it so much. But I was really scared to kind of push myself into a proper good career in magazine publishing, because it meant going to London, and all of the people seemed to be, I did go for a couple of interviews, they all seemed to be like very Oxbridge, and I just didn't think I was good enough, really. So it kind of put me off doing it. And now I think, well, the idea that you can blog and write a blog and you don't have to have a degree to do that, and you could just do it. Anyone could do anything now, can't they? So that's what I think now. I wish I'd had confidence to pursue that. I did a few different publishing jobs, actually, now I say of it, but I didn't really have a career that I could have had a different sort of career, and I would have liked to have been a writer or a journalist, a more serious journalist. And now I've come full circle. I got the chance to do that again through my blog and through the fact that you can now self-publish, your own books and that kind of thing. And that, I suppose that my early experience in writing and publishing did come in useful for that. So I knew what I was doing. So I kind of did achieve some things in the end, but I'm kind of glad I did that. And the other thing I found, I always had lots of ideas of things that I wanted to do, but I didn't have the confidence to see through. And I have lots of ideas now of things I'd like to do. And now it's not really a question of confidence so much as energy. And menopause is a real thing, and it does zap you. I'd say I've had less energy in my 50s than I have at any other time of my life. And I find I'm tired a lot. And I do blame the menopause a lot for that. It does definitely, it just zaps you. I mean, I know, I mentioned it in one of my other videos. It was when I was talking about changing my diet and going gluten-free and sugar-free in order to try and sort out my thyroid. So many people said, oh my God, all my health problems started with my menopause, and so many women. I never had any problems until I hit my menopause. And I think that has been a surprise to me, really. When I first started going into my menopause, it wasn't quite being talked about in the way that it is now, which is a shame, really, because I remember being so exhausted at work and a bit down and a bit depressed and not really knowing what it was. And then when I was well into it, the Davina McCall documentary we had in the UK came out, and it was a revelation. I was thinking, oh my God, it wasn't just me. Lots of women have this experience, and we should be allowed to take medication for it, and it shouldn't be a taboo to take HRT. And certainly I take HRT and I recommend it. I think it's really helped me a lot, and you should be able to have HRT if you want to, because it's quite disabling, sometimes the menopause. I think that changing my diet from my thyroid point of view is helping, and it's helping with my energy levels. Last night when I went out for a meal, I did have some alcohol, had some Prosecco, because I thought, well, it's my 60th, and I did have a dessert, but they did loads of gluten-free options, so I did manage to stick to my gluten-free diet. That's why we chose that particular restaurant as well. They had a lot of gluten-free. So I'm hoping that, that will continue to kind of improve my health, and I'll get back to doing a bit more exercise, not just a bit of gentle yoga. I think getting older, again, this is another cliche, that getting older and seeing some of the people and remembering some of the people that haven't made it to age 60, people that I went to school with, that didn't make it through their teens and didn't make it through their 20s, or, I had a very good friend, Ivan, who didn't make it past his early 40s. And I've had people that have had very serious illnesses and, did survive, but, have really had to appreciate the fact that they're still here. And my sister-in-law says to me, just don't ever moan that you're getting older. We're lucky to get older, because she's had a serious illness, and she appreciates every birthday that she has. And it does make you do that. I'm lucky I'm still here. I appreciate and I'm grateful to still be here. And so I'm not going to complain about getting older in that way. I might complain about some of the ailments that come with getting older, but I think there's a lot we can do as individuals to keep ourselves healthy. And my health complaints have been really relatively minor. Some people I know have had a lot worse. I've got bit of a thyroid problem, which is treatable. I've got a bit of arthritis, which, I can help myself by doing yoga and eating a healthy diet. So that's what I need to do. And you get this kind of thought, you need to seize the day and, do the things that you want to do and take opportunities when they arise, and don't run away from them. And, go think about what you want to do. Think about things you've always wanted to do and think, is there a way I can make this happen? And I think there is. There's a lot to be said for that. There's always possibilities, and you can and this is something I do a lot and have done a lot in my life, put obstacles in my own path and say, can't do that because, And there's, it's just frustrating. It frustrates me about myself that I have done that in the past, but I do it less and less as I get older, because now I know that I can achieve some things and that I need to just say, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. How can I do that? How can I make that happen? So that's what I would say that is worth doing. Anyway, these are just some kind of thoughts that I've had, as I say, about turning 60, getting older, not necessarily behaving like an older person. I don't think you have to do that now. I mean, when I look back at other people in past generations who are 60, and they dressed old, didn't they? They kind of got to a certain age and started behaving old. Oh, I'm going to retire and I'm just going to sit at home in my house coat. I think I have financial constraints, which means I cannot take off around the world, but there's no reason why I can't do some travelling, and it doesn't have to be abroad. I've said this before in previous videos. I really want to go and explore Scotland. We're going to go and do a Scotland trip because we both want to do that. And we've been to Wales a lot. We haven't been to Ireland much. I went when I was 17 with the same boyfriend. We hitchhiked around Ireland. Same boyfriend that I went to Europe with. I'd like to go back, hire a car and get to some of the places I couldn't hitchhike to, because Ireland is beautiful and so is Scotland. Love Wales. As I say, we've been to Wales a lot of times, but there's bits of England that I haven't been to that I'd like to go to. I'd love to go to Lindisfarne, to Holy Island. Want to get up there. We could perhaps do that on the way to Scotland. So there's things that, I'd like to do. They may be small things in the greater scheme of things. I don't want to be Prime Minister. Absolutely awful. Would hate to do that. But, I would like to do a little bit more travelling, and I can do that. So we're going to start having a little look at what we can do. Anyway, that is a bit of rambling, isn't it? Sorry if you came on here for money saving tips, because I haven't really given you any, have I? But apart from saying what I would have done, if I'd known what I know now about money when I was 20. So maybe if you're 20, you can learn from those. Anyway, I am off now. I've got to go make the dinner. I will see you next time. If you liked this video, please do give me the thumbs up, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.